Well, with the World Cup now just days away, soccer fans across the globe are placing their bets on who's likely to win the competition. And as it stands at the moment, the odds don't look good for Bafana Bafana to win, with betting companies giving us odds ranging from 100 to 1 to 180 to 1. Spain are the favourites at this stage with odds of 4 to 1. Brent Graham from Good for the Company joins me now in studio. Brent, odds aren't stacked in our favourites at the moment. Slim chance that we're going to make it through to the finals, but how far do you think we will go? What are punters telling us?
Well, yeah, the markets are suggesting that Bafana have got very little chance of winning, but I think most of us knew that anyway. I can tell you, though, that there's been plenty of interest for Bafana Bafana in betting markets, and one of the most popular markets is to qualify from their group. Of course, then they only have to finish in the top two. And if you look back sort of 4 or 5 weeks ago, even you could get 5 to 2 or 2.5 to 1 that Bafana would qualify. Gradually, punters have been nibbling on that, and that price has come in to a best now of 1.8 to 1, or as we say in the bookmakers' terms, 18 to 10. So there's support for Bafana to make it through their group.
And if we make it through the group, how far do we go beyond that?
Well, there are also bets that you can get. You can back any team in the tournament. What stage will they be eliminated? 8 to 1, for example, Bafana to be eliminated at the quarterfinal stage. Reality is for Bafana that if they can make it through their group, anything's possible in terms of their last 16 game, but by making it through the group, that will be considered a success. And punters who have backed them will be very happy with that.
And of course, we've had a couple of friendlies recently and done quite well in those. Are our chances improving according to the punters?
Oh, without a doubt. You know, I mean, if you look back, as I said, 5 or 6 weeks ago, we were given a very slim chance in our group. We were the rank outsiders. We remain the outsiders in our group, but our price has shortened. It's sort of condensed. On this, by the same token, you look at the likes of France, lost to China the other night in a World Cup warm-up. Dangerous to read too much into these warm-up games because teams aren't putting their full sides out there. But there's definitely a growing sentiment and a growing belief that Bafana can make it through to the next round. You won't see that reflected in the outright betting because at the end of the day, whether you take 100 to 1 or 180 to 1, you're probably going to lose your money, unfortunately, by backing Bafana to win the tournament. But if you can get 2 to 1 on Bafana going through, that might be a nice bet.
Of course, we don't want to get the wooden spoon in the opening rounds, do we?
No, that's it. And of course, you can back if you don't fancy Bafana, and I'm sure there's very few people watching here would like to do this, but you could, for example, back Bafana to get the wooden spoon, or you could back them to score a certain number of points in the competition. Plenty of opportunities.
How up the gambling chain is South Africa at this stage? Of course, I know that the UK is gambling mad. Are we moving in that direction as well?
We are. You know, we've got certainly large sections of our population are starting to become gambling mad. We've seen big pickups in figures and interest, for example, in betting on the PSL, which a few years ago you could barely get a price. Now all of the online bookmakers are competing to get business for the PSL. You've got international players, the likes of Victor Chandler have just launched here. Sporting Bet in the UK have launched under a white label, great odds. So we've actually got international bookmakers that have come into this market. And I know a couple of the others, the Ladbrokes and William Hills, have also made noises that they're looking at the market as well.
Any idea of how much money actually gets spent on a tournament like the World Cup on gambling?
I wouldn't know an exact figure. I do know that speaking to leading bookmakers, they're all expecting record turnovers. And we're talking really, the bookmaking industry, sports betting, is really, call it £1 billion business. It's absolutely massive, especially the games where, for example, England are going to be playing are going to be absolutely huge turnovers globally. And locally, of course, lots of people looking to get a bet on Bafana Bafana.
Now, just looking through your webpage, goodforthegame.co.za, you talk about exotics and things like that. What's just some of the exotics we have for Bafana Bafana?
Well, you can back, for example, who's going to score, who's going to be the leading scorer for Bafana Bafana. You've got Impela there, who's a worthy favourite, but you might want to have a nibble at someone like Stephen Pienaar, 12 to 1. Realistically, Bafana probably not going to score a lot of goals. We expect this group to actually be very tight with very few goals. If Pienaar can nail a free kick or something early in the tournament, you might be able to collect there. You can also back how many goals are Bafana going to score, and for example, how many points are they going to score in the competition. So loads of, you can even go further and look at yellow cards and red cards. So it really goes down hundreds and hundreds of options.
And what's the feeling? Are we going to score at least a few goals during the tournament, get the goal in the net?
Well, I certainly hope so. I think if you look at the betting, we're expected to probably score 2 to 3 goals in the tournament. Obviously, the betting still suggests that we're going to go out in the first round, which means the bookmakers are kind of factoring the fact that there's probably going to be 3 Bafana games, but that there might be 4. But so those are the sort of markets we can look at. The problem for Bafana is we've never been that good at finding the net. We seem to be well organised defensively. But a strategy that I know a lot of people will be employing on Bafana games is to actually look on the game itself to bet on, for example, less than 2.5 goals. The half point just means it can't fall exactly on the mark. So if you think there'll be 2 goals or less in the game, you take that bet. And there's a lot of people going to be backing that. It was a popular bet against Denmark on the weekend as well.
The odds of qualifying for the last 16?
We're looking at the moment at the best price of 18 to 10 Bafana. That's 1.8 to 1, 180% return on your investment there to qualify. We are still the outsiders in the group, but we have shortened nicely.
Now, you mentioned a number of bookmakers who are setting up operations in South Africa, online operations and otherwise. Do you think they're likely to stay here after the World Cup's come and gone? Do you think there is a market for them to stay in South Africa after the soccer?
I certainly believe so. Sports betting has grown very, very nicely in this country over the years. You know, bearing in mind, up until 1994, it was illegal to have sports betting. You could only bet on the horses, and then the casinos and the sports betting became legal. These guys certainly haven't come to South Africa with the intention of pulling the plug after the World Cup. I don't believe that the World Cup in itself is big enough to have incentivized them to come here. It's a great time to launch your product, a great time to make an impact, but these guys are looking long term, and they see South Africa as a market with plenty of interest in sports betting.
And who's your money on to win the tournament?
I like Argentina, and I'll use the words despite Maradona. I'm not a big fan of the coach. I think lots of stars in that tournament. I also have a fancy for England, but at the current quotes of around about 6.5, 7 to 1, I don't think there's a lot of value there for punters if you consider the likes of Holland are double the price.
So Argentina 7 to 1, and of course that's today's numbers, so this would obviously change as the tournament progresses.
It certainly will. In fact, even the numbers here that you see now are changing almost on a daily basis. You know, we've had some major injuries. Ferdinand injured, he's out of the World Cup for England. England's price drifts from 6.5 to 1 to 7 to 1. Small drifts like that. Robin for Holland, he's a doubtful starter. Holland, I can tell you, one of the early steamers, plenty of money for Holland in the early markets, backed in from 15 to 1 to 11, 12 to 1 where they sit at the moment.
Brent, we have to leave it there. I'm sure we're going to be speaking to you again during the tournament. Thanks very much for coming in.
Look forward to it. Thanks very much.
That's Brent.